What up, crew? Coach Conway here. You know, I've been teaching on Level 1 seminar staff for CrossFit for over a decade now. And we do something to depict one of the models of fitness that we have kind of shaped our definition of fitness after. And this one always intrigued me from the moment I first saw it as a coach in the space. Not the first time I saw it at my Level 1, but as a coach in the space, I saw it. And it's the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum. If you guys are CrossFit coaches out there, you're very familiar with this model. And even if you're not, you might be. Maybe your coaches talk to you about it. But it's a way for us to simply classify where we're at based on health markers. And of course, over here, sick. An example of someone who's sick, and this isn't my necessary definition, so don't feel judged out there. Don't make this feel like this is an attack on you if you fall within any of these specific parameters, but 30% body fat would be an example for someone who is close to sick, or 100 beats per minute of their resting heart rate. These are things that would allude for me as a coach to take some concern and really want to help that individual and educate them on how to make that better. Someone who might be categorized as well is 22% body fat, or in that range, and we're talking particularly maybe for females. Males might be just a little bit lower, and then 70 beats per minute resting heart rate. And then over here by fit, it's below 10% body fat, again, females in that window, and still experiencing the regular menstrual cycle and being able to perform in the gym, and then about 50 beats per minute as a resting heart rate. Now, we don't just need to do this in regards to measures of like these specific ones and cholesterol and blood pressure and different things like that. It could also be like your 1 rep max deadlift and your Fran time and your one mile PR, etc. But my theory here, and I consider this because I've experienced it myself in my own opinion, is that this doesn't just end with the art. What it does is, if you get to this point, and a lot of you follow me because you desire an elite level of fitness, that once there becomes a point where fitness, there's a point where we can achieve an amount of fitness that there's a diminished return on it. Meaning that we get to this point and we continue to come to a fitter state, but then eventually it starts to round us back over closer toward a sick state and away from optimal health. And I say that because it's important to consider, in our sport specifically, what it demands for you to have an elite level of fitness. Is it healthy for you to consume on a regular basis 500 and 600 grams of carbohydrates in perpetuity in order to fuel your training? I'm not saying that's wrong, and I'm not saying that you can't be lean and some of your blood markers might still be in a good direction, but over time, what does that do and what is the cost? Equally, if you consider the movement, redundancy, and volume of training that you need to sustain in order to keep an elite level of fitness, what does the compromise look like? Personally, I can share with you that I had achy knees, achy elbows, and very achy shoulders throughout my time of pursuing elite level fitness. In 2017, when my son was born, I couldn't even demonstrate an air squat for the classes that I coached without properly warming them up first. And what I mean by them is my hips and my knees. And to me, that just seems ridiculous because of how fit I was. I was running a 5:15 mile. I was back squatting over 500 pounds. I was clean and jerking 355. I could snatch over 280. Like, I had some numbers that were very impressive, and I felt like my fitness reflected a very high level. However, what my day in and day out life reflected was not that of someone who was extremely fit. In fact, I limped around my house. I had to use my hands to brace myself going up and down the stairs. And some of that was ignorance due to my part, the way I warmed up and cooled down and treated my body. But a lot of it because I had such fitness that it reached a point of diminished returns. And I want you to just have some thought about that. If you're an everyday athlete and you somehow glamorize or really uplift the CrossFit Games athletes, I want you to ask yourself, what does their day in and day out look like? Because it doesn't always look like their Instagram highlight reel. It looks very different than that. And I'm not saying that everyone out there lives like this and experiences these things, but I'm assuming that the vast majority of them do. Not alone just with physical pain and physical discomfort in order to sustain such a high level of fitness, but also psychologically and emotionally. It becomes very draining to be the top of a sport or pursuing the top of the sport without undue change or rest. So athletes out there, if you're pursuing this high level of fitness, if you want to be to semifinals, if you want to be to the CrossFit Games, make sure you're resting and resetting, and make sure you're getting the tutelage and mentorship of athletes who have been there or coaches who are currently coaching in this space to help guard your mind and guard your heart from burnout. Because this is a continuum that doesn't just stop over here at fit. Don't be on the backswing over here to sick.